Hey guys, so we're going to do a little review here of the QD blast shield by Griffen Armament. And it's kind of fallen short on a few of the claims that they have that it will fit NATO spec dimensional devices, basically meaning an A2 bird cage. So their claims are, and rightfully so, they say it won't fit all the imitation A2 devices, because there's thousands out there on the market in the last 10 years because it's a novelty type situation at this point. And they also claim that their blast shields will absolutely, obviously, fit their own muzzle devices and a few other companies. However, you shouldn't have to go out and spend $100 on an additional component when, in fact, the component that they sell clearly says it will fit on A2 dimensionally correct muzzle devices, meaning the A2 cage. And I also have other ones over here, off camera right now. So I'll be going through some basic dimensionals just to prove out the point of why it easily fits on their device and absolutely will not fit on the NATO spec devices as they claim. Because the last time I checked, anywhere in the world, NATO spec is NATO spec is NATO spec. Okay. So obviously we have two here. And a few devices. Actually, this one, even though it's NATO spec dimension, it's actually a bottle opener. Okay? First, I'll show you their device. Slides right in, open the gate. We got a spring plate, we got a gate, okay? And then we get the blast shield. Goes in, locks on, you lift the spring plate, open it up, slide the gate out. Slide it in. Obviously, if it'd be on the muzzle of your gun, they have an extra ring that has a little tab, so it stops. So it takes me just a second to line up the groove in here. And lo and behold, it slides right in and locks and engages. Okay? However, they specifically say, again, NATO devices. Get to that in a second. This is the proper way it's supposed to engage. The gate goes all the way down under the spring plate and latches on the flats of the muzzle brake. Okay? If I take it out, open that, pull up the gate, she slides right out. You can't put it in 90 degrees out of alignment, because even though the gate will close, the gate will not lock in. The gate falls shy. You can see it right here. Okay, there's dimensional issues. The gate lock needs to engage on the flats in order for this to be secure. Again, we're going to bring up the gate, spin it 90 the way it's supposed to be, put it in, and now you can see the spring plate latches solid and the device fits as it's supposed to on their device. Okay, so right off the bat, we're going to start with the NATO spec bottle opener, which is exact dimensions as I already showed you as the NATO spec A2 cage. That happened to come off my AR-15 Sporter 2, made by Colt in 1996, when only Colt and Bushmaster were the ones manufacturing anything, all to NATO spec. Anyhow, so we have it in, and as you can see, oh, I just bumped it a little bit. Let me straighten it back. As we can see, we're lined so the gate will open and close to the spring plate. Again, you can see that the gate, if you look down in here, in these corners of the flat, the gate is definitely going in and out, and I can get it obviously to slide right down the sides of the groove almost to the point of engaging, but we're running short obviously because we're on the radius part. We are not on the flats, but I'm specifically showing here. You can see that the cage, the gate is not locked. Again, we're not under the spring plate. Again, this is the only orientation on a NATO spec cage that the gate will actually slide over the second groove. Now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to spin the NATO spec 90 degrees, maybe. It's much easier to spin when it's on the barrel. Well, let me just do it this way. Just pop it out, spin it. We're going to drop it back in, and now we're going to try to get this lined up, and this will absolutely, under no circumstance, fit to go in. It will not go down. Making it smaller than NATO spec is not the same. You're not comparing apples to apples, but they're deliberately marketing this to fit on NATO spec devices, and it doesn't. It's an absolute lie. What they do is they sell you something cool like this that you like the style of, you absolutely want, and then they expect you like this so much that you're going to have to go out and waste another $100 on one of these. Well, the problem is that what if you have 10 different uppers? What if you have 10 different lowers? You have 10 different guns. What if you have 3 guns now, but you plan on buying 3 more different uppers down the road? I shouldn't have to waste $100 a pop to configure every one of my uppers. Not only me, this one's mine, this one's a friend of mine's, in order to have a single device, which should be interchangeable with all of my devices, this simple, as they state. Boom, boom. Should go from one gun to another gun, to another gun, to another gun. One device, interchangeable, NATO spec across the board. It's not NATO spec. If you can't live up to your claim, you can at least change your documentation or fix your products going down the road. So we're going to put the $145 part back together with the $100 part. Line up the flats with the gate lock, slap it in, whammo, done. Now we're going to take this one apart. This one belongs to my friend. So he's got well over $200 invested in this right here. I'm lucky, I only got screwed out of 145. So right now we're opening up the factory one. And also, just to be perfectly clear, there is zero way as a customer I should have to be doing this. Basically finding errors in the manufacturing, in the design and marketing of another company's part. They should at least be willing to listen and also learn from their customer base. Not just say, we'll give you your money back. I don't want a money back. I want my property, I want my money, my part, to be doing exactly what you said it would do. I want it to fit on and interchange with all my NATO spec devices. So we're removing the spring plate, which is there. Oh, look at that. They actually have a roll pin in here, so you can't remove the gate. That I did not expect to see. So it took me a moment, but I was able to get their gate out of here and around their split pin without even removing their roll pin, which is in there, because it only catches on this little bump. That's not the issue. This will be perfectly evident in what I'm about to show you right here. I'm going to take marks out of this one. This is the $100 muzzle brake versus the $8 muzzle brake, the $8 NATO spec muzzle brake. So here we go. This is going to show you everything you need to see right here. This goes in, but it would drop in like this on the spring plate, and that would allow it to lock. As you can see, they have lateral movement in this direction, and they have lateral movement in this direction. Okay, there's definitely a lot of play And as I showed you with the calipers, not those are the cheap ones, but the expensive ones, that this is machined differently in general. Okay? Now, let's go to the bottle opener. Again, just like I showed you when it was assembled, it absolutely fits on the second groove in this direction. But this is not the direction it needs to go in order to lock under the spring plate. It needs to go, ready? Whoops. It needs to go in this direction, where it absolutely will not go down and engage on NATO spec components. This way, no problem. This way, no way. Let's try this one. This way, no problem. This way, no way. Wow, interesting. Original, 1996 Colt. Mil spec. NATO spec, sorry, not mil spec. NATO spec A2 birdcage right there. NATO spec cage for a non-threaded barrel that was just secondary machined into a bottle opener. By the way, works very, very, very well. Doesn't fit, doesn't fit. This one, it fits on all 3 axes, but only, again, flats is where it will engage the spring plate. Your part doesn't fit. NATO spec A2 cage on the HK MR556. Okay, here's your locking gate. It will only go in the second groove, not parallel to the flats, 90 degrees from the flats. You cannot rotate this to get it in position. You cannot install it in any 90-degree orientation so your locking tab for the spring plate is lining up with the flats. It absolutely 100% will not work. So I've had a very long email chain that's been going back and forth with info@griffenarmament.com, and I have yet to receive a technician's name who I'm speaking to or a contact phone number about this situation. All that they have tried to do is dispute math and physics and science and calculators and calipers and decimal equivalent charts and NATO spec dimensional blueprints. It's total bullshit. Okay, it's about how it fits and where it's supposed to fit. Okay, then they try to tell me that I was on the wrong ring. I was on the first ring. No, I'm not on the first ring. I'm on the second ring. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Okay, it's just total BS. And then they try to tell me that, well, this is the gate that they use on their suppressor systems, and it has to be this thickness in order to make uniform locking and not kick off and all this. I'm not talking about silencers. I'm not talking about the suppressors. I'm not talking about whether they use this part on everything or they have 2 different parts. I really don't give a shit. I'm talking about their specific claim that this device is supposed to be interchangeable with these devices, and it 100% is not. Absolutely no way. Unless you want to use a $100 novelty, okay? That might work real pretty with their suppressors. Who cares? It's not what the discussion's about. I've also discussed with their info@Griffen Arms about, at the absolute bare minimum, sending me out a few gate pieces so I can disassemble, try to physically see everything that I've shown you here tonight in order to see what I need to machine on this gate in order to make it so I have one muzzle device, one blast shield that will do what they originally told me to do, that will work. It'll be interchangeable on any NATO spec part. But Griffen Armament can't even concede to admitting the fact that this will not fit on an A2 NATO spec component. I asked them, has any one of their engineers in their company actually taken an $8 NATO spec device and tried to physically lock it on? The answer is simple. It won't. However, I asked them, could you send me out just a few of these? I'm not asking for a whole bunch of these. I'm not asking for a whole bunch of these. I definitely don't want a whole bunch of these because I think they're as ugly as shit. Okay? All I wanted was just a couple pieces of these. Maybe so I can just modify. I got to modify mine. I got to modify my friends. You know, there's a chance, believe it or not, there is a chance I can make a mistake on my Bridgeport. Doubt it, but there's a chance. Okay? And I just wanted to have a little bit of comfort room in having an extra one. All I get for replies is, we told you in the first email we would refund your money. Guess what, motherfuckers at Griffen Armament? I don't want my money back. So, the other night, I took this gate, and I didn't want to mess around too much. I just went and machined the entire surface across the flats. Just thin enough. Only a few thousandths. I do not remember the actual dimension. But as you can see, it clearly will go in on the flat, so it'll lock in place. You can even spin it 360. This is how it should be all along. Here's an uncut one. And again, it'll go in like this. And the only reason why it goes in like this is because, believe it or not, the material thickness here is clearing the overhang because it's on the flat. Wouldn't believe it either, but you got to do a little bit exploring to figure it out. Again, this one will not fit this way to engage against the flat the way it's supposed to. Will not go. It will go this way because the thickness clears because of the flats. Again, machine this one a little thinner. Doesn't matter which one we check with. Goes right in, nice and snug. Okay? This one, even machined full thickness, still does not rock the way that Griffen Armament said, and that's because, forget the ears, but back here, this is still full thickness area, which engages under here, under this point here and this point here, full thickness, which keeps any type of rocking completely out of it. Here you can see a little rock, but if I put it in all the way, there is no rock any different than factory. But once again, Griffen Armament says, oh, it rocks too much for the silencers and the suppressors. Like I say, I don't give a shit. This isn't about a silencer or a suppressor. This is about a part that they don't make that works universal on everything the way that they claim. So on the other gate, I actually drew this one out, haven't cut it yet. And I actually got a nice radius here that'll actually leave some of the full material thickness, not only back here like I did on the first one, but all the way up the ears, which would even help even more with an anti-rock situation. And just again for comparison, here we go. It will fit this way, no problem whatsoever. Again, because it's clearing on the flats, but that's not the way it engages. It has to go this way. And it will not go. This one goes and engages any way you want. Okay, check this one. Doesn't matter. Not on the flats. And on the flats. Won't go. This one, on the flat, that's your engagement right there for your spring plate. Any way you want. So I'll machine this one, and then this one will end up working. Something that obviously Griffen Armament can't do. They can't figure it out. I don't even know if my emails were going to anybody other than a friggin' stockroom boy. Info at Griffen Armament. The hell is that? Tech at Griffen Armament. Try signing something with a goddamn name. That way you know who you're talking to. Maybe a phone number, an extension number. Okay? Get your head out of your ass. Maybe you got a guy that does all your CAD work that doesn't know the first fucking thing about firearms and doesn't know how to draw anything out. Okay? Either way, I figured it out. So you guys suck and you're inadequate. So this is the final cut that you need, Griffen Armament, because your designers suck balls in order to get it to fit on a mil-spec A2 birdcage. Okay? You guys suck. That's all you fucking need to do. And guess what? You still got your full thickness all the way down the edge and all the way down that edge, so you won't have any little fucking pussy rocking shit. Okay? You guys really need to fucking get better designers because you're a bunch of stupid fucks.